because you're bitter, you're angry, you're upset, you're unforgiving. And this is when a couple builds a dam that stops the river of communication from flowing. It can build a wall so high and so thick that either the couple cannot or they will not ever get back together. It is one thing to fail to communicate the right things. That's one thing. It's another thing when you just stop communicating at all. Because no marriage can survive without the oxygen of communication. So Solomon says, tender talk is powerful. It is the right kind of communication that can give oxygen to the fire in a marriage. It will make it burn hotter, make it burn brighter. But the wrong kind or no kind can literally suck the air out of the room. And so Solomon says, first of all, you communicate love through treasured talk. Not hard, really, but he goes deeper. He says you rejuvenate love through together time. You rejuvenate love through together time. Marriage is like a plant. If you have any plants in your house, you know one thing is true. That plant's got to have water. But no, you can have sunlight, you can have fresh air. You don't water that plant will die. The same thing is true about a marriage. Time is the water you pour on a marriage to keep it healthy and striving. Now, this couple understood this. Listen to what they're talking about. My beloved spoke and said to me, arise, my darling, my beautiful one. Come with me. See, the winter is past. The rains are over and gone. Flowers appear on the earth. The season of singing has come. The cooing of doves is heard in our land. The fig tree forms its early fruit. The blossoming vines spread their fragrance. Arise, come, my darling, my beautiful one. Come with me. What's that all about? Well, she's not saying let's just go do some bird watching or flower gazing. She's saying, you know what? We need some together time. Evidently, it was the end of winter. They've been cooped up for months, couldn't get out. Now they can. The leaves are blooming and the birds are singing and things are getting back to a springtime kind of an atmosphere. She says, look, why don't we spend some time together? Because by the way, the greatest way you spell love in a marriage is T-I-M-E. That's the way you spell it, T-I-M-E. There's nothing that will communicate with your spouse that they're the number one priority over every other thing than when you give them the most valuable thing you can give them, and that is your time. And there's one thing that single women and married women both have in common. They like to be courted. They like to be dated. That desire never ends. Now, I'm going to say something. I want to be very careful because I thought about this when I was working on this sermon. I said, yeah, I got to be careful here. I'm looking right now at some younger couples. You either don't have kids or you're about to have kids or you have small kids. And some of the things I'm going to say for you might not be practical right now. It may not be feasible for you right now. For example, I know it's tough to, particularly if you've got kids at home, it's tough to just find a couple of hours here or there where you just have time just for each other. It's hard to kind of get away. But I'll tell you what, where there's a will, there's a way. And I'm sure there's someone you know, maybe it's your in-laws, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a relative, whatever. There's someone you know that that can watch the kids for a couple of hours. Just let you go to a movie, let you go out to a dinner date or something like that, just give you some breathing room. So this bride, this wife comes to this man and she says, come, my beloved, let us go to the countryside. Let us spend the night in the villages. Now, she's not just suggesting let's go to the mall and shop or let's just flower gaze or something like that. She says, look, we need time together. Find somebody or someone, hey, could you just watch our kids for a day? Just watch our kids just for a day. And then take the morning, leave, go out, spend a day together, traveling, driving, whatever you want to do, and just spend some time together. And oh, by the way, there's a lot of ways every week you can spend time together. Go to the grocery store together. Run errands together. The point is, you can take the time to communicate each other. You've got my time. You can take the time. You can make the time. That's the way you rejuvenate love, is you spend time together. Third step. You demonstrate love through tender touch. Now, I want every man in this room to see the word tender, not the word touch. And you'll see why in just a moment. But you demonstrate love through tender touch, because twice in this song, chapter 2, verse 6, chapter 8, verse 3, we read these lyrics. His left arm is under my head, and his right arm embraces me. Now, you don't know Hebrew idioms. I would expect you to know Hebrew idioms. But back in the day, that was a sexually charged idiom. That has sexual connotations. So we're talking about loving sexual affection. Now, having said that, I want to make something very, very clear, and I'm going to get a little personal, so just hang with me. I don't know whether you men have ever learned this or not, but if you haven't learned it, you better learn it. Men and women are different. I'm telling you. Men and women are just different. Now, ladies, for most men, the number one they need that they have in their life is sexual fulfillment. That's their touch. Guys, for most women, the number one need they have is affection and attention. That is her touch. And this is where I want to get a little personal for a moment, so just hang with me. Men, if the only time you ever touch your wife is when you want sex, that's not touching, that's taking. That's not what we're talking about here. One way you can really show your wife that you love her is just occasional, serendipitous, extemporaneous, unplanned touches. A pat on the back, a kiss on the cheek, holding hands when you're walking down the mall, sitting down beside her when she's watching TV or reading a book, walking up to her, giving her a hug, just a warm embrace. Now, I know what some of you men are saying right now. I can see it on some of your faces. Well, I'm just not the affectionate type. Well, learn. You can be. You should be. You ought to be. Just make sure your focus is where it needs to be. That's the point I'm trying to make. One of the things I came across when I was working on this marriage, I thought this was really good. The majority of a woman's needs, guys, are non-sexual. That's not true for us, but it's true for them. The majority of their needs are non-sexual. Here's what she wants. Three things. Here's what your wife wants. She wants to be hugged. She wants to be held. And she wants to be heard. Those are her biggest needs. Now, ladies, let me just be honest. On the other hand, your husband needs sexual fulfillment. I don't remember where I read this, but somewhere somebody said husbands want sex on all days that start with a T. Thursday, today, tomorrow, Saturday, and Tunday. Okay, now listen. And I understand, ladies, I get it. Sometimes you're not in the mood. Understand that. Sometimes you're just not up for it. Understand that. And husbands, you want to be sensitive those times. But I'm just going to say something to you ladies right now. If you've got a headache every night, see a neurologist. You got a problem. Here's the last thing. You illustrate love through timely thoughtfulness. Now, I want you to watch this. When I read this book, when I read this Song of Solomon, I thought to myself, man, I wish this couple was alive. I wish we could bring them up on stage and just pepper them with questions. How did you do it? How did you learn these secrets? How did you learn what to do, what not to do? How did you learn what to say, what not to say? And I wish I could take this couple and just do marriage retreats all over the country. Because if you go back, and you ought to do it sometime, if you read the entire Song of Solomon, they don't leave any stone unturned. For example, here's what happens over in chapter 7. Watch this. Let's go early to the vineyards to see if the vines have budded, if their blossoms have opened, if the pomegranates are in bloom. There I will give you my love. The mandrakes send out their fragrance, and at our doors every delicacy, both new and old, that I've stored up for you, my beloved. Remember that little trip I told you earlier she wanted to take with her husband? She said, I want to go out, pick some flowers, gather some fruit, but I want to give that fruit to you. I want to express my love to you. And I read that and I think, how thoughtful. Because one of the things, again, I've learned in our marriage, and I think Teresa would agree with this, is how important little things are. See, we get this idea that to be romantic, you got to spend a lot of money. You don't. As a matter of fact, the most romantic things you can do really don't cost a whole lot. And here's what blows my mind. And I don't understand this. I'll just be honest. I don't understand it. It's amazing how small, intentional acts can be like throwing a bucket of kerosene on a fire. Just like send a text to your spouse. Before I walked out to preach the sermon this morning, just when I walked out, I just sent Teresa a text. I said, I love you only. Just pop her a text, just, to let her know that I love her. It can be a card given for no reason, flowers that are brought home. I mean, can I just tell you something else? Teresa and I were talking, I don't know, it's been a long time ago, but I said to her, what's some of the most romantic things that I do for you? She said, it's so romantic. It's so loving. It's a turn on when you take out the garbage. I said, you got to be putting me on. That's all you got. That's the best you got. She said, when you clean your study up, because I sometimes get messy, and I said, when you clean your study up, she said, that really is so sweet. And then she said, when you let me put my cold feet against you in the winter, when we first get in the bed, that is so romantic. I've heard her hear this. It's the only time divorce has ever entered into my mind. The only time. But I say all that to say this. Everything I've shared with you, it's not earth-shattering. It's not new. Oh, I can't believe. I've never heard that before. Sure you have. It all comes right out of the manual. It all comes right out of the song. So as I wrap this up, I thought to myself, I don't want to just leave it here. Oh, that was a nice sermon, Pastor. Yeah, thank you a lot. No, I said, yeah, let's get real practical. So you're one of those couples that walked in here and nobody knows it, but your marriage is not good. You're about ready to throw in the towel. You're about ready to wave the white flag. You just about had all of him you can stand, and you've had about all of her you can stand. And it's just not looking good. I want to ask you to do 4 things just this week. Not next week, not the next week, just this week. I want you to do 4 things. Now let me stop. But I don't want to do those 4 things. I don't care. I don't feel like doing those 4 things. I don't care. He or she doesn't deserve these 4 things. Don't care. I want both of you 4 things this week. 4 things. See what happens. Number 1, every day, spend time talking to each other without interruption. No TV, no cell phones, no distractions. You're just not talking at, talking to. How's your day? How are you doing? What can I do? What's 1 or 2 things I could do for you today that would make your day? All right? Number 1. Number 2, do something together every day. Something. Take a walk, run an errand, cook together, clean up, but do something together. Number 3, show each other some type of physical affection at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, and hopefully during the day. Number 4, occasionally at least do some thoughtful thing that's totally unexpected. Love note, foot massage, flowers, surprise dinner date, whatever. Do something. Not because they were sweet, not because they were kind, not because they earned it, not because they deserved it. Totally different. Just do something and just see what happens. The one thing that I guess really, I have to really fight from getting angry is when a couple looks at me and says, we can't work this out. It just can't happen. We just can't get there. And here's what I always say. If God can raise his son from the dead, he can raise your marriage from the dead. If God can raise his son from the dead, he can raise your marriage from the dead. To watch